So today we're going to be talking with Chris Morgan. He's a principal over at Eastern Townships School Board who's been being a principal there for about the last 12 years. And he's been he's the principal at Butler Elementary in Bedford, Quebec. And he's been there for 9 years. And we thought it might be fun to touch base and see kind of how um, see an administrative perspective of the shutdown, the reopening, and all of that. So I want to say welcome to Mr. Morgan. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Great. Thanks so much for taking some time to talk with me here today. So we're going to just kind of start off. I have a couple of questions, just to kind of set the scene a bit. Chris, tell us a little bit about your school, like where it is, how many kids you have, teachers, just a little kind of intro to your environment, where you are.
Okay, well, the school is Butler Elementary, and we're located in Bedford, Quebec, so that's the townships. We normally have a population of a little over 160 kids. It's an Anglophone school, obviously, and the vast majority of the kids come from Anglophone families, although we have some kids that still have eligibility that are more Francophone at home that do attend. It's a school. It's an AN school, so there's quite a bit of poverty. But it's I'm obviously very biased, but it's the most incredible little school with a lot of. Excuse the bell, as you can tell, we're open for business. But a lot of community involvement, a lot of volunteers. It's a country school.
Right. Awesome. So let's go back a little bit, Chris, about when the shutdown first started. As of March 13th, schools were shut down. Kids went home. Teachers went home. How did you guys keep in touch with your kids and the teachers, and how did you kind of bring them together? Because I did see some posts on your Facebook. I love your Facebook page, by the way, of all these cool things that you guys were doing to kind of keep your community together. Can you talk to that a bit?
Sure. Well, we did a variety of things. Thanks to our super volunteer, Faye Hamilton, we do have a great social media network, including Facebook. But we were up and running pretty quick, in terms of what we were able to do. So we put together a learning resource website so the kids could access their materials by grade level. But then we also did personalized messages. We had the teachers take turns recording themselves reading a book. Just messages from the principal online. One really cool thing that we did is just to help out families, both related to the school and just the community. Is we had a what we called the Butler Pantry, where families could come to a little pantry that we had set up in a garden shed and pick up some groceries and things for no cost. So just trying to help out, because obviously it's some of the work that the parents would normally have without the COVID.
That's amazing what you guys did. I saw some photos of that pantry. It's pretty amazing what you guys did for the community itself. And how key is that social media part of how important was it to kind of keep you guys in touch with everybody else?
I think in terms of this situation in particular was really important. Normally I would say that our social media is to kind of it's to get messages across to the population. So we use it now as a communication tool, but it's also often just to advertise the really cool things that we're doing. But it transformed into something key that we were hoping the kids were going to be viewing, because we wanted them. It was an anxious time, right? Sure. Nobody, sure. Even adults, we weren't quite sure what was going on and what it was going to look like in a month or two or a year. Mm-hmm. And so we were trying to, lower anxiety and get the kids, just to get the kids to know that we're still thinking about them.
Absolutely. I think that too, with even this online thing, they always say the most important thing is to make sure that you keep those relationships alive, and that the kids feel like, even though you're through a screen, you still feel that connection to the teacher, to the school, to the principals, etc.
Right.
What were some, so once the government had kind of said, okay, we're going to slowly push you guys back. How did ETSB respond to the reopening plans? What was kind of the process that you guys had to go through as the administrators?
Well, we had several meetings, obviously, like management meetings, where we went through different protocols, and the what we call the BG team, the Buildings and Grounds team, really came together in terms of making sure that we had the supplies and the structure needed to be as safe as we could, like in terms of disinfecting and things like that.
Right.
We were left, to a certain extent, we were left to our own devices to tailor things to our own schools, but they were certainly like a valuable resource. And as I said, there were open discussions about what a typical school day could look like and suggestions as to how to handle things. And then the administrators also shared best practices.
Right. Could you share a couple of those? What were some of the best practices that they had kind of suggested?
Things that came out of that and things that we implemented here at Butler's, we kind of created like these, it's almost like one-room schoolhouses within the big school. So like we created pods where the kids were together as a group, but with a limited number of adults. So you'd have 2 or 3 adults assigned to a group of kids. And so the old idea of having the French teacher move from class to class, or having kids move from one end of the building to another to attend a different physical classroom, all that changed. That's a good example.
Yep. And when you guys started to come back, what were some of your big surprises or things that you hadn't expected to happen and happened? And like, were there some things that once you reopened the school up that some surprises came out of it, or some happy coincidences? Or
well, I think that the biggest thing, like, and it's almost like a personal thing, but I'm sure I'm not alone, is I myself was I was unsure of the decision, to put it lightly, and it wasn't because I was necessarily worried about the virus. Like I realized that we were in a pretty good situation, and statistically, if we were careful, I was confident that we would be okay. I mean, you can't control everything, but I still felt good about that. What stressed me out was what I anticipated would be anxiety amongst the kids, especially, like, because, you're going to see teachers in masks, and you're only going to be able to walk down the hallway in one particular direction, and now you have an assigned bathroom, and you can't just go to that bathroom.
Right.
All sorts of different little changes. There's different personnel. We had some teachers that did not come back because, pregnancies and other reasons. And so I was worried that kids would come back and this would be too much. And the surprise was that I was wrong, essentially. Like, it did not take long, and the routines were learned, and the kids were anxious to get back. They were smiling and happy, and it didn't take long for the anxiety to go down amongst them and the staff. And we've kind of created a new normal, and it went better than my negative attitude expected.
Right. Well, I guess a lot of it falls on your shoulders too, right? As the principal of the school, you have to kind of be the last filter for everything, right?
I do. Yeah, I guess so. That's true. But I mean, none of this happens without I'm not going to blab on forever, but just I have an amazing group of people working with me. So it's, they make it a lot easier for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk maybe a little bit about that. So the kids come back, and did you still have other kids at home as well? Were you working in a hybrid kind of, where you had some online and some face-to-face?
Yeah, we still do. So we started off with about 30% of our population returning, which is, I think it's low in comparison to the Francophone numbers, but in terms of the Anglo schools, it was a pretty high number. And we've gone up since then. So we're probably close to 40-45% now. Wow. So that means a large proportion of our kids are still at home. So as I mentioned earlier, like, we were right off the bat, we had created a website where kids and parents had access to individual lessons by grade. And then on top of that, we had some online sessions. And on top of that, we distributed the ministry packages and the materials that they provided for us. So it was a bit of a mishmash, but we're still doing that for the kids that are online. We've got some teachers that are really tech savvy, and so some of the kids are zooming in for different classes and sharing the class virtually at the same time as the kids that are physically there. So it's been a little bit of, and we're continuing to kind of improve that. We're working on that. Actually, we're doing some learn workshops right now on online teaching.
Right. Yeah, we've offered a series of just to kind of get teachers talking again about it. We find too that when teachers are having these pedagogical conversations, ideas start to just expand. So whenever conversations can be had, we're all for it, which is great. Let me circle back a bit to that. So what kind of PD was offered by, your community that kind of supported the teachers to kind of get those less tech savvy teachers over that hump of lowering their anxiety and seeing online in a different kind of way, maybe shifting mindset a bit?
Well, I don't think it's fair to say, I did not have every teacher producing, using Google Classroom or Zoom to have their kids take part in that manner, especially in the younger grades.
Sure.
But we are lucky enough that we have quite a few, as I said, tech savvy teachers that served as mentors to try and create and service our own staff, so our own local PD. Other than that, there wasn't anything that I think is revolutionary. Like I said, we had our website. Mm-hmm. And for those that were a little less comfortable with the technology, all they had to do was create their document or their lesson plan in a manner that could be understood from home with little teacher guidance. And then we made sure that was distributed electronically online for the parents to use. And then, like I said, because now we seem to have some directives in terms of the fall, but mm-hmm. we're continuing that series of workshops that you mentioned. There's another one again today. Yep. All our staff is participating in that, just so that if things do revert to a certain extent, we'll be even more ready to service the kids online.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of a curveball yesterday at that press conference. Our Minister of Education announced that elementary and some of the secondary students would be going back to school. So again, the adjusting. It's so organic, this whole flow of things. So you got to kind of keep your feet on the ground and your ears peeled dramatically. So Chris, just to kind of as we kind of wrap this up a bit, as a principal, what were some of your biggest kind of aha moments or advice that you might like to share with other administrators of things that you came to realize through this whole shutdown and shifting practices, basically?
Well, I really, like I said, I think the idea of creating little teams amongst the staff that were working with a limited number of kids was, not only does it help in terms of the Santé Publique directives, but it was it made sure that the teachers didn't feel isolated and on their own, right? So They were going through something, but they were going through something with a partner or partners. Right. So I think that was definitely helpful. Things you need to think about, one of the realities that's been difficult is on more than a few occasions, we've had teachers out for a couple days at a time for testing purposes. And that's only once has it been a teacher with their own physical symptoms, but right. The more and more we open up, the more and more we're going to become in contact with somebody that might just have a sore throat or a cold. Sure. But because of the positions we're in, we need to err on the side of caution and make sure that we get some test results before we allow them back into a classroom. At least that's how I've been handling it. Sure. So that's been difficult. You need to make sure that you got a couple good supply teachers at hand and that you have a contingency plan. But other than that, I guess just it's not as bad as you think is right. What I guess you could say. And listen, I'm still I've got 66 kids in the school right now. Right. So September is going to be a whole new reality for sure.
Absolutely.
But we'll get through it. And the other thing that I did, and that I probably not the best suggestion for September, but we consciously made an effort to make the end of this school year since startup to feel like the month of June. Like we're working on academics and we're taking that serious, but we're also taking a lot of walks and bike rides and line dancing every Friday. Cool. Like we're trying to, lower anxiety and have some fun in a year that hasn't been a lot of fun for a lot of people. So, yeah.
That's amazing advice right there. I want to leave it there because I think that puts the exclamation point on this, that we'll get through this, that we will get through this. Yeah. And hearing your examples are just really wonderful. And I want to thank you for your perspective on things and how things have been going at Butler. And I want to wish you a good end of the year and hope that you have a good summer rest, and that also June, once September rolls around, we're ready to rock and roll.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I think you're right. Like we're going to get through this, and it's a medical emergency, not an educational emergency. We just need to, do our best and get through it. And the kids are a lot more resilient than we give them credit for.
Amen. All right, Mr. Morgan, you take care of yourself. It was great talking to you again, and we'll talk again soon.
All the best.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
Bye.